In recent months, tension has been growing within the global technology industry, increasingly compared not to another race for megapixels or raw performance, but to the beginning of a fundamentally new era of personal devices. According to multiple industry sources, the Chinese company Huawei is preparing to take a step that could overturn the tablet market and call into question the long-standing dominance of giants such as Apple and Samsung. This is not merely about a new flagship or another design iteration, but about an attempt to radically change the very idea of how a personal gadget should look and feel in the 21st century. According to people familiar with the company's internal developments, Huawei is secretly working on fully transparent device technology and may soon unveil the world's first fully functional prototype of a transparent tablet capable of operating in everyday use rather than as a laboratory concept. If this information is confirmed, the market will be on the verge of its most serious shift since the launch of the first iPad, when tablets suddenly transformed from a niche product into a mass phenomenon. Sources close to Asian supply chains claim that inside Huawei, this project is seen as a strategic response not only to Apple, but to the entire Western technology world. After sanctions, trade restrictions, and effective isolation from US technologies, the company was forced to rebuild nearly its entire ecosystem, from processors and software to displays and production lines. And it is precisely within this forced isolation, analysts argue, that Huawei gained a rare advantage: the freedom to experiment without being constrained by established market standards. While Apple and Samsung cautiously refine existing form factors, wary of risks to sales, Huawei, according to insiders, is ready to go all in and present a device that looks as if it came straight out of science fiction. According to leaks, this is not about a partially transparent casing or decorative elements, but about a fundamentally new type of display in which most of the surface remains transparent even in an active state. The technology reportedly combines an advanced transparent OLED panel, quantum dot microlayers, and adaptive backlighting that reveals the image only where needed. As a result, the interface appears to float in midair, and the user sees not just a screen but digital information overlaid onto the real world. Some sources compare the effect to augmented reality, but without glasses or headsets, with the device itself becoming a window between physical and digital space. Of particular interest is the claim by industry analysts that Huawei has managed to solve one of the main problems of transparent displays, namely low brightness and poor readability in daylight. This limitation is precisely why most transparent screens have so far remained exhibition experiments or have been used only in storefronts and advertising panels. If Huawei has indeed achieved acceptable contrast and energy efficiency, this would represent a technological breakthrough that automatically puts the company several years ahead of its competitors. Comparisons are already being drawn within the industry to the moment when Apple first unveiled a touch interface without physical buttons, when the market also did not immediately realize that the rules of the game had changed forever. Authoritative Asian publications, citing anonymous sources in Chinese research centers, claim that Huawei views the transparent tablet not as a niche product for enthusiasts, but as the foundation of a new ecosystem. Such a tablet could become a universal device for work, education, design, and smart home control, envisioning a desk with no physical screen, only a glass panel through which the surface of the desk remains visible, while windows, documents, 3D models, and interfaces are projected on top of it. For designers and engineers, this means a new level of interaction with content, while for everyday users, it creates the feeling that technology has finally stopped being bulky and intrusive. Against the backdrop of these rumors, noticeable concern is reportedly growing in Cupertino and Seoul. Apple has traditionally been cautious about radical form factor experiments, preferring to refine technologies to near perfection before mass adoption. Samsung, for its part, has been actively experimenting with flexible and foldable displays, but transparent devices have so far remained more a demonstration of capabilities than a real product for the company. If Huawei does indeed present a working prototype ahead of everyone else, this could force competitors to accelerate their programs and take risks they were not prepared for. The broader context makes the situation even more tense. The world has been living for several years in conditions of technological confrontation between the US and China. where every new development is perceived not only as a commercial product, but also as an element of strategic influence. In this sense, a transparent tablet from Huawei could become a symbol that China is capable not only of catching up, but of setting the direction for the development of consumer technologies. Some analysts state outright that if Huawei is the first to bring such a device to market, it would not simply be a victory for one company, but a serious blow to the myth of unconditional leadership by Western technology corporations. According to insiders, Huawei is fully aware of the risks. The project was allegedly several times on the verge of cancellation due to manufacturing complexity and the high cost of components. However, in recent months the situation has changed. Chinese display and material suppliers, having received state support, were able to establish production of key elements, which sharply increased the chances of a real announcement. Moreover, some sources claim that the company has already demonstrated prototypes to a narrow circle of partners and officials, and the initial feedback was so positive that the project received a green light for further development. Looking more broadly, the emergence of transparent gadgets could change not only device design, but our relationship with technology as a whole. Today, screens dominate our space, separating us from the surrounding world. Transparent devices, by contrast, promise to make technology less intrusive, more natural, and more seamlessly integrated into everyday life. This opens the door to entirely new usage scenarios, from education and medicine to architecture and urban planning. And if Huawei truly becomes the first company to take this step, its name may be forever written into the history of the industry. The question now is not whether such a technology is possible in principle, but who will dare to take the first mass-market step. According to a number of experts, Huawei today occupies a unique position. The company has already gone through a crisis, lost a great deal, and is therefore ready to take risks where others would prefer caution. And if in the coming months we do indeed see the announcement of the first fully functional transparent tablet, this could be the very moment when the personal gadget industry finally turns away from its familiar path and enters a new, still frighteningly unknown era. That is why behind the scenes of the industry, an idea is increasingly voiced that if Huawei manages to realize this vision, the company will effectively impose a new standard on the market, while all other players will be forced to chase, justify themselves, and explain to investors why they once again found themselves a step behind. And perhaps the most unsettling thing for competitors is that Huawei, judging by the leaks, is no longer trying to appeal to everyone. The company is ready to release a product that will provoke controversy, skepticism, and even mockery. But it is precisely such products that ultimately change the world. If this scenario plays out, in a few years, we may look back and realize that this announcement marked the beginning of the end of the familiar era of screens, bodies, and frames, an era in which technology was visible, and the beginning of a new one, where it becomes transparent.